It's your boy Amreezy, and I'm back with another Road to Sorare Boss episode where we follow my journey on Sorare and we talk about the wonderful game that is Sorare, all things Sorare. So, if you love Sorare, you're in the right place. If you're new to Sorare, welcome. Get comfortable, make a cup of tea. This is how my videos should be consumed while you're having a cup of tea or your equivalent of a cup of tea. Calm, nice. So, if you've not got that yet, pause the video, go make a cup of tea. While the video's paused, give the channel a subscribe, give the video a like. It helps me out massively. Now that you've done that good deed, on pause, let's talk Sorare. I won a reward. I won a card last weekend. Very exciting for me. I'll go into who that card is and talk about the card a little bit later in the video. Spoiler alert, it's the card in the thumbnail. But if you want to keep a bit of mystery, forget what you saw in the thumbnail and let's talk Sorare. So, Premier League's finished. Very sad, very tearful occasion for someone who loves the Premier League and has watched the Premier League all their life. So it's always a sad part of the season. Now we have to wait for the next season. In terms of Sorare, I got a reward last weekend. I got a reward at the last weekend of the Premier League season. For me now, it's buying cards for next season. This whole last couple of months has kind of been playing the capped leagues while I kind of scout cards that I want for next season. I'm really close to kind of finalizing which cards I want for next season, and then it's just a case of buying them in the summer when the prices hopefully come down a little bit. So that's where we are at the moment. Let's start off. I've teased you already with how I did at the weekend. Let's start off by looking at how I did last weekend in the wonderful world of Sorare for the week May the 17th to 21st. Right then, we can see the scores on the top here, the best scores that I had this week. We'll go in order of how Sorare likes to display the lineup. So under 23 is the first one. There is a midweek set of fixtures. Nothing's happened midweek. Nothing to report midweek. So we're just focusing back at last weekend, which was the last weekend of the Premier League season. So from the under 23s, I finally got a striker right in my under 23s. That's kind of been the problem position for me with the under 23s since I've been playing seriously with the under 23s is the forward spot. So I finally got my forward spot right and everyone else kind of let me down. So it's good signs for next season because Nesley at Rotterdam has kind of been in and out of the team. When he starts, he seems to impress, but then it seems like when he doesn't score, he seems to go back to the bench. And then he scores a few times when he's off the bench. Then he gets a few starts. Then he's up back to the bench. So that's kind of been the story of what it feels like owning his card this season. But he's ending the season strong, starting games, scoring goals. Hopefully he then takes that into next season. With a lot of my cards, I'm kind of seeing promising signs. In fact, everyone in this team, maybe apart from the goalkeeper, who's been the #1 goalkeeper at Paris FC all season, the Chelsea cards, Chelsea's pickup in form at the end of the season has been really good for me as a Chelsea fan, obviously. But in terms of Sorare, like when I joined the platform in December this season, Chelsea were like halfway through a bad season. Nobody was buying Chelsea cards. All the prices were low. I started my collection. I would have started my collection with Chelsea if we were doing well or if we were doing bad. It didn't matter for me, but it worked out for me that like a lot of the cards nobody was buying. I got a few for very cheap. And now that the Chelsea players are picking up form again, they've sacked the manager. A new manager is going to come in soon. Hopefully next season, new manager hits the ground running. I've got all of these Chelsea cards that are kind of ready to go. And yeah, we hit the ground running. Chalobah has broke his way into the first team. Still don't know if Chalobah is going to stay at Chelsea next season, but he's done really well in the games that he's played. Pochettino really liked him. So now that Pochettino's gone, it does kind of make me think Chalobah might leave, because he was kind of Pochettino's boy. So if a new manager comes in and signs a new defender, maybe Chalobah will leave. But I think he's done so well in the last few games of the season that if he's increased his transfer value, and also he's probably got a few other teams looking at him like that's a good young defender that we could build our team around. So happy that with having owned Chalobah for next season. Same with Gallagher. Gallagher's form picked up really nicely last few months of the season. He's now in a position where his card's worth a lot more than I bought him for. His stock is really high in terms of how people perceive Gallagher now. You know, at the beginning of the season, he was a bit like, will Chelsea keep him? Is he good enough? I think he's proved that he's good enough. He still might leave Chelsea, but again, like Chalobah, if he does leave Chelsea, he's probably going to get a good team where he's the main man. They sort of build the team around him. So I'm optimistic owning those two cards, that if they stay at Chelsea, they're good. If they leave Chelsea, they're good for Sorare. So happy with them. And Ravic as well. He came back. He's been injured a lot this season, Ravic. I bought him while he was injured when he was cheap. Now he's back in the first team. A little bit too late because the season's ending, but I'm hoping that he's picked up a few games to give him confidence for next season. So most of my under-23s should be playing again next season. Maybe not Gallagher. This might be his last year in the under-23s, but the rest should still be there. And then we're going to pick up a few pieces to strengthen them for next season. So that's how I did with the under-23s. No reward. The reward this week came on in the Cap 270. And my goalkeeper got injured before the game. So could have been a lot better if Bilal hadn't have been injured and would have played and just got a basic score. I would have probably got a tier 1, maybe a tier 2. But Bilal got injured before the game. It wouldn't have really changed. It didn't really make a difference to me, him being injured. It's not like I could have put in another goalkeeper because all of my goalkeepers were not playing goalkeepers in the capped leagues. The only two goalkeepers that I had were Bilal and Obed in the under-23s. So had to be him in this squad. Then Daniel Munoz. Crystal Palace had a great end of the season. Munoz really attacking. When Palace keep a clean sheet and they do well like they did with the 5-0 against Aston Villa, great pick. I said in the last video, I just hope Palace keep their form going and I hope Villa keep their bad form going. And that's exactly how it went. So 95 from Munoz, 156 from my boy in Germany. Best there. Das best there. Last game of the season. He signed off the season with a win. Probably my best card since I've been playing Sorare this season has been best there. He's just always getting assists, always chipping in with goals. Great card. So they had a nice ending of the season. Josh Cullen, my Burnley boy, been raving about him on the channel ever since I bought him like a month or two ago. I love Josh Cullen. He signed off the season with a goal. His position changed a lot this season. He became more advanced as the season went on. He became more advanced. And Josh Cullen was a great lesson for me this season of using my football knowledge to help with Sorare. I know through watching the Premier League for so many years, last couple of months of the Premier League season, the relegated teams start trying really hard. Or they get relegated and the pressure's off and they start performing better than people expect. So with that in mind, I watched Burnley. I fell in love with Josh Cullen. I was like, that's the kind of player I love. That kind of creative holding midfielder who joins in with the attacks now and again, but breaks up play as well. He does a bit of everything in midfield. And I went for him and it worked out for me. He helped me get a reward this week. I got a reward from this 270 week, a tier 3. And he's also, I think, won me the last reward that I won. I think he was in that team as well. So he's helped me out a lot. And I bought him for like 50 or 60p. So an absolute bargain and a lesson that I'll be taking into next Sorare season where, again, a few months before the season ends, look at the relegated teams. I'll be doing that. Find the gems. So I only went for one this year, Josh Cullen. But I think if I went for maybe a few Luton players, maybe another Burnley player, I'm sure there were some other high scorers in there, and worked out which ones they are, you can make a nice little relegation mini stack for the end of the season. And the great thing is, if they get relegated, I can now use him in the Challenger division next season. If he stays at Burnley, he'll be an amazing option in the Challenger division where the game should be easier. So Burnley should be winning more games. And I've seen how key he is. So if he stays at Burnley, he's going to be a great card for me in the Challenger region where that's my weakest division. I don't have many cards in the Challenger division. So having just one solid midfielder already, that would be a good move. If he moves to Burnley and moves to another league, wherever he goes, I like how he plays football. I think how he plays football suits the Sorare scoring mechanism because he makes a lot of forward passes, he wins tackles, and he chips in with assists and goals now and again. So really excited about him. I feel like every week I'm just raving about owning Josh Cullen, but he's my boy. I love him. And Quinones, I watched this game. It was the second leg of the semi-final in the La Liga MX season. America beat Chivas 1-0. I said last week, it's going to be a tight game. The first leg was 0-0. I saw the second leg being tight as well. It was. And Quinones, it's a low score of 42. He should have got a much better score. He was involved in so much of the play. He played on the left wing, and I think it's hurting him a little bit that he's not the main guy up front, but he's still so effective on the left wing. Like Every time the ball comes to him, he's strong. He can hold it up really well. He's got a little bit of a pace on him, so he can get behind the defenders. I love him as a player. He's my favorite player at America. This was his first season at America, so his scores have dropped off a little bit now. But I think going next season, he should be a bit more established. He should be a bit more comfortable at a team as big as America. You know, he went from Atlas to America. That's quite a club stature jump. So I think he's had a year to settle in. Next season, I hope he really hits the ground running. Hopefully, I hope they sell Henry Martin, their striker. His contract runs out. I'd love them to get rid of him so he's got less competition. But Martin's also still a good player, so they might just renew that contract. Either way, Quinones, good player for next season. And shame he couldn't help. If he'd have got involved, like he had chances. If he'd have scored one goal, this tier 3 card I won could have been a tier 1 if my goalkeeper had played and he'd have done a bit better. But I'm happy with the tier 3. Got to take that. So that's my 270. These two teams, nothing to report really. 240. Castro Montes at Union SG has been putting up some good scores lately. So he's still got a few games left of the season in the sort of playoff structure for their division. So he's a sort of good bit of news for me. I'm going to be playing him this weekend. Cucurella, a great score at Cucurella. He's had a really good season in Ben Chilwell's absence, and maybe he holds the number 1 left back spot next season, Cucurella. So if you fancy a risk at Chelsea, have a look at Cucurella because he's been so good since Ben Chilwell has been injured that you could argue he deserves to keep his place even when Chilwell's back fit. Also, if Chilwell does come back into the Chelsea team, chances are he's going to get injured because that's how he is. He's very injury prone. So when he has his next injury, Cucurella is going to be waiting to just step in again and maybe continue the good form he's been in. So good card for Cucurella. My Newcastle boys did nothing. Our Niwi at Forest did nothing. And then there were some training lineups. So that's how I did last weekend. Let's take a look at the new cards that I've been buying since last week. So remember, I'm focusing on next season. I'm trying to pick up bargains where I can. So since last week, I think the last card I showed you that I bought was Sam Johnson, the Crystal Palace goalkeeper. I traded him. He was worth very little because he's been injured. I'm interested to see where he goes next season or if he can come back into the Palace team and get that number 1 jersey. I took a gamble in trading Sam Johnson. These are the cards that I bought, and this is the card that I won in the Cap 270 this week. Yassine Adli. Now, interesting card to have won. He's someone who for years has been like one of these players that you hear about, talked about as like, oh, he's got a bright future. He's getting to the age now where he's got 22 years old. So, you know, I think AC Milan haven't really played him that much this season. He's been in and out of the team. And I when I won the reward, I did what most Sorare managers do, which is like research the card, look up news, see his scores on Sorare data, how well has he been doing. And there's a lot of talk that he's going to leave AC Milan and that a lot of clubs are interested in him. So I'm going to be keeping him. I'm going to be seeing where he goes, which league he moves to, and like which division structure he moves to. Because if he say goes to another champion club, that's good for me because I kind of need a few more champion cards. But if he goes to challenger, also good for me because I need some there. If he goes to contender, that's like the worst case for me because I don't need him to go to any contender leagues. But we'll see what he does. So Yassine Adli, I don't know much about him other than I've just always heard him being mentioned as a promising player. I play Football Manager a lot, so I've seen him in previous Football Manager games as a kind of wonder kid. So let's see what he does. He does also have 1 more year of under 23 use. So I've got him for next season in my under 23 leagues. So if he goes to a team where he's the first team football, under 23 league could be an interesting option for my under 23 league. So that's the card that I won. The cards that I bought are Pedro Neto. I bought him for £5.50. He's just come back from injury at Wolves, which I think why his price has dropped. It does feel like people have forgotten how good Pedro Neto is. At the beginning of the season, he was worth like quadruple that price and was scoring a lot very fast. Manchester City were rumoured in signing him. I think the injury has cooled a lot of transfer rumours, has cooled his price, but also under 23 option. I don't know if he'll be an under 23 option next season, but a really good player. I love watching Pedro Neto. Every time I've seen him play for Wolves, I've been like, this guy's good. You know, I want Chelsea to sign this guy. Like, he's that kind of player. And I think 550 is a nice price for him. So I've picked him up for next season. Also, he's a forward, or he's a forward card. He kind of plays on the wing in real life, but in Sorare, forward card. And I need forward cards. This season, I've had a real sort of struggle with forward cards. In the Premier League, Raheem Sterling was my main forward card for a long time. And when he dropped out of the Chelsea first team, I didn't really have anyone to fill in for him. So next season, I'm not making that mistake. I'm going to have Pedro Neto as well as a few other forward options. So, and then I need to talk about Edgar Mendes and Necaxa, because this card was gifted to me by someone. Someone sent me a tweet on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, saying, love your content, Amric. And they gave me this card to help with my Necaxa collection. So big thank you to Barry, who gave me this card. If you're watching, Barry, big thank you. It's the first time someone's ever gifted me a card, so I'll always really appreciate this card forever now. Edgar Mendes helps with my Necaxa collection. If we remember, the three kind of collections I'm going for are Chelsea, Santos, and Necaxa. They're the kind of biggest collections I have. And then next season, I'm trying to build up a few more, maybe West Ham, Newcastle in the Premier League. But in terms of Liga MX, it's Santos and Necaxa for me. So this helps with my Necaxa collection. Then I bought Stukes, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce him, but Belgian midfielder, really promising. I looked at, he's been in, again, another injured player. So I bought him because I thought he's injured, but his value is really low. He's got a couple more seasons as an under 23. And if we can see his past scores, when he wasn't injured, this is kind of when he got injured, so ignore that score. He had a bad game there where he did play the whole game. But look at these scores. He had been scoring really well, and he's 22 years old. So I think with 96, 82, 79, 95, these are like regular peaks. These aren't like once every 10 games. This is like every other game here having good scores. So I hope he can continue that next season. He's injured now, but he should be back for next season. And you know, I'd been monitoring for him for a while. He'd been on my sort of watch list since you know I'd seen these scores. He's been someone I've been watching, but his price has always been too high for me. But now with the season ending and him being injured, I think people are wrongly selling him at a lower price. So I picked him up for 225. And then the last card I bought was yesterday. Marcus Bettinelli never plays for Chelsea, but helps me with my Chelsea collection from last season. And I got him for 50p, very cheap. I've not seen him ever go that low. So I had to pounce on him while I could get him for 50p. So those are the new cards that I bought. That's the card that I won from last season. Let's now take a look at my lineups, and it's not going to be exciting, guys. But let's take a look at my lineups for the coming weekend, where there's very few leagues for me to enter. So with the Mexican football season finishing, with the Premier League season finished, I am really scraping lineups together now. I've effectively got one goalkeeper playing this weekend. So my under 23 lineup will be a DMP goalkeeper, Ravic, who has got a tricky game and I don't even know if he'll start. João Felix never really plays for Barcelona. Maybe he comes off the bench and does something. Alan Minder has recently been dropped to the bench. I don't know why. He was doing really well, and then he's been benched. He's young. This happens with the young players. So hopefully it's just resting him, and next season this is nothing to be worried about, but his form's dropped. Maybe he has a final good game. And then my new boy has gone straight into the team. Yassine Adli, build up his bonus points. Again, he won't be starting for AC Milan. He doesn't seem to start these days. Maybe he gets off the bench and does something. So not really expecting anything from my under 23 lineup. And then I've just put some capped lineups out that I can kind of cobble together. All of them a DMP goalkeeper. This Bilal technically is not a DMP goalkeeper, but he's injured, so probably won't play. The fixture that I can kind of see a realistic chance of maybe getting some rewards, I've put with my Cap 270. So these are my 4 best cards this week. So with no Bundesliga, no Premier League, no Liga MX, apart from the Liga MX final, which is where Quinones comes in, he's going to be my captain because they're playing Cruz Azul in the final for the Liga MX, the final game, the cup final to end the season. America are going to really want it, and I think they will win it. I think they're a much better team than Cruz Azul. Even though Cruz Azul are quite an exciting team, I really like their defender, Biovi. He's someone that I'm going to try and sign after the final when his price hopefully comes down. But for me, America have just got too much firepower, too much experience. They've been here too many times before. They won it last season. So I think Quinones, I'm going to captain him and in a hope that he converts some of the chances he didn't convert last game. Then I've got these two boys who are LAFC. Omar Campos from my Santos collection. He's at LAFC now, really young, promising Mexican left back. And Atuesta, the first card I ever won on Sorare, it was Edward Atuesta. So I didn't sell him on principle, even though he wasn't playing for Corinthians when I won him. He was like we knew he was leaving and he went to LAFC. So I've got these two cards are both at LAFC now. They've got a good game against Atlanta, who are kind of towards the bottom of the table. Let's see what happens. I find it really hard to predict MLS games. It's kind of what's putting me off buying MLS cards, even though like MLS season's currently playing. So it would give me more Sorare activity if I could play some MLS cards, but I just can't predict it. I could add to these two LAFC cards, build a little LAFC collection. I think Giroud is signing for LAFC soon. So it could be a nice little LAFC stack I could build, but MLS is just too hard for me. You know, I'm already in Liga MX. That's my kind of North American region I'm covering. I'm not going to invest any more time into this region. So they're going to be in this game. Castro Montes has been scoring like really well on and off. If we look at Castro Montes's past scores, he's like one game good, one game bad, one game good, one game bad. So he's due his one game bad now. So I'm picking him just in the hope that he can break this worrying cycle of good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, and then a good. He's really hit and miss, but hoping he can kind of do this, put two goods together. And then it'll be a case of hoping they all do really well, and my goalkeeper probably won't play. Cap 240 is even more of a punt lineup. No, wait, it's not even a punt lineup. No one's playing there, and no one's playing in my 220. So, wait, Pablo Mari is playing in my 220. I do apologize. Juventus away. So, not expecting anything there. So, Cap 270 is my only lineup this weekend, really. That's all I've got to get excited about. Let's just say I'm glad Sorare Rivals has had a revamp because that's given me something else to do in Sorare. So that's my lineups for this weekend. I'm looking forward. I have put a little bit more money in my account. The £180 I've added to my account. That's my budget for the summer. That's the transfer kitty I've given myself. So that's my entire budget for the summer. I hope I can stick to that. Which is a good budget for me. I should be able to buy some Premier League goalkeepers and then fill in some missing pieces within my lineups to make sure I can have 3 lineups in the Classic Premier League next season, 1 lineup in Champion, or maybe 2 lineups in Champion, 1 lineup in Challenger, and 3 lineups in Contender, all in Classic. That's what I'm going to be building towards. So this is going to be buying that. So I think I've got enough cards to piece together already. I don't need to buy loads of cards, but I do need to buy a few expensive cards like goalkeepers and maybe 1 or 2 strikers. So that's what I'll be doing now, spending that, getting cards for next season, and looking forward to August. So let me know in the comments what you think, any advice, any cards you think I should be looking at for the summer. I would really appreciate that. And I'll see you next week. Peace.